Our next presenter is actually presenting from Ohio. He is presenting via Skype, and this is all very, I think, relevant to the types of things that we're talking about. Joe and I know each other through the net and through media. He's an expert, a pundit, consultant, speaker in the area of content marketing. Joe, take it away.
All right. I wish I could be there in person. Russell, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Let's talk about this information evolution here. I like to go through kind of where we came from and how we got here today. But basically, if you look at this slide, what we're trying to say here is that, let's say in the early 1900s, we had lots of people with the ability to communicate directly to their customers because it was all local. You had people called pamphleteers, and they would go down the street and hand out pamphlets, and you had direct communication going on. And then you went all the way up to, let's say, the 50s, 60s, and 70s, where if I'm a marketing executive and I want to grow my company, the best thing that I could have done is buy TV advertising. It was the onset of mass media. So that's where you had the Procter & Gamble's of the world buying out television advertising, and it was the smartest thing to do. And now we're into what happened in the late 90s and now in today in 2009, and we have many, many voices. So basically, everybody can publish their own information. Everybody can communicate directly with their customers. And I want you to take a look at that pie chart because that's very important, and that's kind of what I based my little 5-minute prediction on today. The arrow that you see, the little, I think you're seeing it as yellow, the little yellow piece of the pie, that's the money that the average company spends right now on their own content and direct communications. That's 30%. That big orange part of that pie, that's 70%. That's what we spend on media placement or on traditional type media. So as you see, we've had this big transition from mass media into very segmented, tons of information. Everybody's a publisher, but still we haven't seen the majority of those media budgets move to that direction. So we're in for a big change, and I want to talk about that. So here, 15 years ago, pretty much as the dawn of the internet, we didn't have many choices from a media standpoint to reach our customers. Most of us weren't doing it directly. We were using things like television, radio, magazines. If we're niche, we're talking about classifieds in magazines and newspapers. This is amazing statistics. The average 21-year-old today has spent 5,000 hours playing video games up to that point. 250,000 emails, IMs, or texts. 10,000 hours on the phone, and 3,500 hours doing something that I can't see the screen. It's down too low. So basically what they're doing is they're spending all this time in all this different media. It's all fragmented. They don't watch as much television, radio. It's all over the place. So this is what we're faced with. This is the future decision maker not only in America, but all over the world. So our media is all over the place. So what, as marketers, do we need to do? So this is really what we're seeing. This is the transformation. Companies are starting to realize that, boy, we can't reach them through even niche targeted media because we can now communicate directly with our customers. What does that mean? That means we have to be like publishers. We have to put on our publishing hats and take off our sales hats and say, we need to create valuable, relevant content on a consistent basis, just like a media company would. But you're a brand, you're a company, you have products and services, but you're starting to do exactly what media companies have been doing for years. So the take is, and what we're seeing is that 30% of that budget that we're spending on our own content, that's going to grow significantly because we all need to be our own publishers. Couple examples, just really, really quick. I love this example. I don't know if you've heard of it. This is by a blender manufacturer called Blendtec. They created a website, a microsite, a video content site, whatever you want to call it, called Will It Blend. Basically, they started this a few years ago, and consistently every week they created a 2 to 2.5 minute video. And what they did is they got on, the CEO put on his white coat, and then they basically took 2 minutes and they blended something up with their blenders. They blended an iPhone up. They blended a Chuck Norris action figure and all his evil henchmen up. And miraculously, at the end of the 2 minutes, Chuck Norris came out okay because nobody can hurt Chuck Norris, right? So golf balls, you name it, they would blend things up. And it was very entertaining, but also at the same time, I mean, they're creating media. They're doing something entertaining and also educational about their blenders. The stats on this are amazing. 150 million plus views in just a little less than 2 years. And in a year-over-year basis, a 500% increase in revenue. 500% increase in revenue. And when you talk to the CFO, they'll say that the reason why that happened was this Will It Blend site. So basically, they don't do any other marketing now besides this, because they are communicating directly with the people that they're trying to resonate with a story on a daily basis. Homemade Simple. We talked about Procter & Gamble leading the way in mass media. They're really starting to publish their own content in a variety of ways. Homemade Simple. If you look at this site, if I would have said, now who creates this site? What would you say? You'd probably say, was that Martha Stewart? Or maybe it's Meredith. Now this is Procter & Gamble creates this site. Basically, it's for tips and tricks to keep moms and dads on the go, organized in the kitchen and around the house. 1 million plus signups later. So 1 million people have signed into this site and said, yes, I want this content. I want to opt into your sales and marketing. Wouldn't we want that? We all want to say, yes, I would like to receive Procter & Gamble's marketing. It's exactly what's happened. And if you talk to the folks at Procter & Gamble, and basically they create ongoing, wonderful content on an ongoing basis to their customers through this site, through e-newsletters and through ongoing articles. And if you ask the folks at Procter & Gamble, they'll say it's their biggest, most effective research and development initiative they have. Another quick example, Outlaw.com, leading UK IT legal firm. They've done the same thing. They don't do any other marketing. They have 2 people and they outsource some of their content. It's basically an online media site, and they get about 1 million people to this website a month engaging in the content that they're creating. So they're basically being publishers. They don't buy any other media. They're publishing their own content. So basically, in a wrap up, here's my, I don't know if this is going to happen in 2012 or not, but my take is that we're going to start seeing a switch. Because we can now communicate directly with our customers and prospects, we don't need to have a middle person to place our media. We can communicate directly, but it has to be valuable, relevant, and compelling to them and consistent. If we can do that in compelling ways, I think what you'll start seeing is that companies will start spending less on traditional media, and they'll start targeting those 21-year-olds now and those other buyers and decision makers who are all over the place getting information from everywhere. So we have to make sure as companies we create the best content there is in order to help tell our story and create a conversation with our customers. All right, so there you go. Social media, search engine optimization, very important, right? Those things are driven by content, by great content. And I always say this in my presentations. You cannot have a social media strategy without first having a content strategy. It's like, how are you going to use those channels, those social media tools effectively unless you have something valuable and interesting to say? You can't. They don't work. So don't even go out and try to use social media until you first stop and say, hey, I need to create a story. I need to create something that's compelling and informative and helpful to my customers, and then I can be successful with social media. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it.